One. Good afternoon, America. What is going on? It is 12 o'clock. You know what time it is. It's time for lunch break with your two favorite guys, the sultans of smoke, the princes of pork, the gurus of grinders, Jody and Chef Greg.
Hoagies and grinders, hoagies and grinders. This is fantastic. What's up, recteq family? I'm Chef Greg. We're going to show you step by step how to do some delicious brisket. We might give you a little insider information on some Academy stuff we got coming up. It's going to be fantastic. And my boy on the other side of Academy Kitchen, Jody Flanagan.
What's up, everybody? I'm in a totally different area of the building. It's amazing. But today we're giving you, for the recteq lunch break, or lunch break at recteq, we're giving you a Academy sneak peek. Greg and myself and John, we're going to be giving you our pork butt and brisket pointers. We're also going to be trimming these bad boys up step by step. So make sure you share this video. Make sure you like it. Make sure you love it. Because there's somebody out there that you know that has asked this question and you haven't just been able to answer it in every facet of the way to answer it. So we're going to cover absolutely all of that for you. Nothing is off of the tables, guys. We're talking Academy. We're talking awesomeness, amazingness. I got called a guru of a grinder today. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Chef Greg's probably going to talk about loose meat sandwiches. It's going to be crazy. But we're going to be going back and forth. Make sure you put your comments in the comment section down below. I'm going to be handling the pork butt, and Greg is, of course, going to be handling the coup de grace, the most delicious, beefiest of beef, the beef brisket. But Chef Greg, how are you doing today?
I am fantastic, buddy. I got a delicious 14-pound USDA prime brisket right here. Look at this bad boy. It is looking good.
Oh, my goodness.
Look at the marbling in this.
Cheese
and again,
and
this
crackers.
is a prime brisket. And what you're looking for is, again, fat inside of the muscle. Now, at Academy, we'll be using some delicious A9 Wagyu out of Australia. But this is a USDA prime. These are the briskets you can find at the store. And just a couple things I want to look at. I don't see any gouges from the butcher. Again, a little bit of a cut right there, but that's not too bad. But we trim this up. I like using a boning knife as well as a slicer. Again, if I'm getting the fat nice and lean, I can cut it off, make it super simple to do. But I'm going to go in here and kind of just remove some of this fat on the bottom of the flat. Now, again, this is going to be the leaner of the muscles of the brisket. And again, all that fat is going to go in a bucket. We're going to keep it. And huge fan of sharp knives. So make sure you guys get some good sharp knives. We're going to inject this brisket. We're going to rub this bad boy down with some favorite seasonings of ours. Again, if you guys are looking for some
Hey, Greg, I got a question for you.
Yeah, buddy, fire away.
Did you say how big that brisket was?
Yeah, 14 pounds.
So this is probably the best size brisket for somebody sitting at home, hanging out, wanting to cook something, wanting to, fulfill that primal urge to just burn some meat up.
And it looks like a big piece of meat, and it is, but I mean, there's a lot of usability here. You can, recycle this for a couple different things, and it's big enough that when you're going to cook it, it's going to give you kind of a good proportion of meat to fat. It's really hard to cook
Looks
like a
freaking
2-pound or a
gorgeous.
3-pound brisket, and have it be delicious for slices.
So yeah, Greg, can you talk more about, we see a lot of folks with the questions, emailing us on the internet, things like that. Talk more in depth about the smaller briskets and how kind of, that's hard to do, a smaller brisket as compared to these larger briskets because, of course, these larger briskets,
Yeah.
the meat kind of protects each other.
For
But
sure.
can you talk more about cooking the point and flat and separates and...
For sure. So again, this is about a 14-pound brisket, and there's a good bit of fat on the top of this brisket. And again, it's large enough. This is going to take a long time to cook. But we're going hot and fast today because we're going to eat this for after hours tonight. We're going live at 7 o'clock. So we're going to hot and fast cook on this brisket.
Delicious.
Having said that, if it's a 3-pound brisket, there's probably not a lot of fat anywhere, and it will not have enough time to get tender.
Greg, did you say 3-pound brisket?
Yeah, you've seen
They
them at
make
the store.
those?
Now, sometimes, here, I'll flip this over.
That's
you might see a
disrespectful.
3-pound brisket, and it kind of looks like that. Okay? that piece right there. Good luck trying to cook that, you know, for a couple hours to get it tender and whatnot. Now, I mean, you can still do it. It's still delicious. But I'm telling you, this was like $2.79 a pound. I think we spent $43 on this piece of meat.
Yeah, when we buy briskets at the house, you know, that 14 to 16 pound range is usually our sweet spot.
Yep. And this kind of, you know, junky fat on the top, it's kind of gummy. You want to get rid of it. It's not going to melt out. We want to get some good rub on the top.
Can you get a close-up of that, Matt, and show the folks what Chef Greg is actually really talking about?
Yeah, like this.
So you're going to disregard that fat.
Okay, now this section of the brisket, this is going to be the point. This is the fattier of the meat, and then your flat is underneath. That's the leaner part. And again, there's some stuff kind of hanging off. You want to get rid of all that stuff. All right, you don't need any of that. Okay, so we'll start up here at the top of the the point, and we will go ahead and kind of trim off. Now, again, we're not losing any meat. It's just this gross fat.
And so we talk about it all the time. You know, this brisket trim, this brisket fat, this stuff is really good to grind up and add to your hamburgers.
For sure.
You can add it.
Maybe you got some venison. You want to fatten up some venison grind, you know. And again,
it's got some great beefiness to it, you know.
For sure. And again, I'm just going to kind of keep going down here, and then I get closer. And you can even get your fingers under here and almost pull it back. And again, we're going to get rid of a good bit of that stuff. And on the sides, if you see some gray or some brown, when they trim this, they're typically using, you know, band saws and other things, and they might have steam burns to the side of the meat. Just cut it off. You don't want to eat it. But again, all this stuff here we're going to get rid of. And again, if you can't get in there with a boning knife, you can grab that slicer, and especially for the flat, what I'll do is I'll grab that slicing knife, and I will get good pieces of fat off.
And that's a huge, huge chef tip, guys. There's different types of knives that you can buy to facilitate this process and not make it so tedious if you've just got,
and if you look, you can almost
a smaller
see,
knife.
If you look right here, you can almost see the meat under there. I'm going to leave just a little bit of fat, not a lot. I trim less than 1/4 of an inch. I want to be able to almost see the meat through here. Another chef tip for you, put this in the freezer for about 30 minutes before you do that. It's going to solidify that fat, make it nice and hard, and you trim it off a lot easier. So,
Chef Greg, I have a question for you.
Yeah, buddy.
What's the best way to freeze cooked brisket and also to reheat it?
All right, so if you've got a vacuum sealer, you can
vacuum
seal that slices. I would go ahead and slice it, and then what you can do is, one of the chef tip, make some beef au jus. Now, if you've got a chamber vac, you can seal liquids, perfect. If you don't have a chamber vac, maybe you've got a food saver type or a pump-driven vacuum sealer, take the au jus gravy mix, go ahead and prepare it, put it in an ice cube tray and freeze it. And that way when you vacuum seal the meat with the au jus, since it's frozen, the ice cubes, it won't pull out of the bag. And that way when you reheat it, it's super moist. So you can either reheat that right on the grill in a pan, or just take it, put it in a pot of boiling water or simmering water for maybe 5-10 minutes or so, and you'll be good to go.
But you guys share this video. We're giving you step-by-step instructions on how to trim that pesky brisket. You know who this video is for? This video is for anybody out there having an issue cooking and preparing brisket and or pork butt. This video is absolutely for you. Share this video. Give us a like. Give us a love. Man, we really appreciate everybody out there in the comments section right now. Danny Taylor, Bill Taylor, Mark Rogers, Matthew Black is asking, can he freeze the fat for next hunting season? Absolutely, brother. You can freeze that fat. Chef Greg only likes to freeze stuff for about 6 months, but you can definitely freeze that fat for next hunting season without a doubt. What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us. Chef Greg, every time he trims a brisket, he goes into super detail of it. But if you just stand back and look, it looks like essentially he's taking all of the fat off of 1/3 of that brisket, and he's leaving a little bit less than 1/4 of an inch of fat on the 2/3 of the brisket that remains. Super easy peasy lemon squeezy. Don't overthink it. There's no wrong way to kind of trim a brisket, but if you take all of the fat off, you can't add it back. Well, you could, Greg. We've done that before, right? We've had fat caps where we've cut them off and we've put them back on top of the meat to protect it from the inside of the smoker at times.
And ultimately, you're making it aerodynamic, and you don't need all of that fat, on that piece of meat. The recteq's going to give you a perfect nice humid environment for it, and you don't need all that fat. It's, it's just going to melt away. Some of it's not even going to melt away. Like this chunk right here, this is a solid, literally block of fat. So we can go in here and even just whack that out. And again, you can see this is, again, super, super hard. And again, this is the good fat to grind. Look at this.
Man,
You're
that
not
looks
gonna eat
absolutely
that. I mean,
amazing.
like I
And
said,
you can see the marbling from
you're
here,
not going to
Greg.
eat that. So we'll go ahead and just take this little pocket out. And again, this fat seam right here, again, this is going to be that flat, and this is the point. This fat seam that runs kind of underneath here separates those muscles. And again, there's typically a pocket of fat right in here, and we'll just get rid of that. Okay? And again, same thing here. Just clean that up. And again, if you follow that fat seam down, that's where all of that that fat is that separates the point and the flat. Now your burn ends are going to come from this muscle up here, and depending on the size of the brisket itself, you might have a bigger point. This one's pretty small, but it's still going to be pretty good. So when we're done, we can essentially just cut that off, cube this for our burn ends, and yeah. So I think we're about done here. I'm not.
Hey,
getting
our boy
crazy
Gary
with it.
Fisher taught his wife last night how to trim a brisket. He said she did an amazing job.
Awesome.
13 hours into the cook, and it's looking great, man.
Yeah, we're going to get these done in about 5 hours. We're going to go hot and fast. And one thing you might see, it's kind of thin here, and there's a big hump. There's a big chunk of fat under here. We're going to get rid of that fat, and that way we can let this brisket sit. And I'll flip this over. You can see this fat pocket right here. I'm going to get in here and get rid of this fat, and that way the point will sit a little flatter on there. Okay?
And it's all about aerodynamics, folks. Again, the way Chef Greg was telling you earlier, when that smoke rotates around that piece of meat, you don't want to have any interruptions or any pockets to where it to kind of build up in. That'll give you that bad flavor. Again, you want it to just roll over that piece of meat and continue to run, just like the NASA space engineering facility. You need to have that cloud, that smoke, and
That's right,
straight
Jody.
lines. You
Tell
don't
'em.
want to see
Tell
any
'em, Jody.
whirlwinds, baby.
Hallelujah.
All right, so now
we're
if you
in,
look.
Chef Greg,
Yeah, buddy, fire away.
can you tell, Jim is asking,
What's up,
what
Jim?
what's the difference between low and slow and the hot and fast?
So low and slow, you're cooking typically 225, maybe 250. Hot and fast, we're going to go 325 on this brisket, and we'll probably let it go for about 3 hours or so, and then we'll wrap it up in foil, and then let it go for another maybe 2 hours, maybe, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. And then we're going to take this to about 205 degrees internal, and we'll probe it with a wooden skewer, make sure it's good and tender. But that's how you trim the brisket. Jody, you want to show them how to trim a pork butt, or you want to go ahead and inject this bad boy?
I've been itching.
Go for it, buddy.
These
Go
are
for it.
about, I got a couple of these, okay? Got a couple of these bone in, about 9 to 10 pound pork butts. This is what you would normally pick up at the store. They usually come in a double pack. I'm going to be trimming the backyard way, but we'll be, of course, be talking recteq Academy instruction as well. So to break down this beautiful shoulder muscle, there's about 3 or 4 essential muscles that you're really going to have to look out for. Of course, what cuts the checks, what gets you that money at the end of the day is that money muscle. And that's going to be located at the, essentially pointier end of it. You can tell that, there's like a log of muscle that just runs through, and you can, kind of manipulate the muscle and see how there's another muscle rotating around and fat around it. So you can kind of see how different that is. You can also see this is the muscle that our tubes are going to be located in, and the tubes are going to be surrounded by fat, and those are also pieces of meat that a lot of folks like to turn into their box because it's going to give you the most amount of flavor. And again, you can see the marbling, fat equals flavor, and those tubes are surrounded by some fat, and of course that's going to give you the most delicious pork imaginable. And again, the pork butt is a pork shoulder. The pork booty, or the pork rear, is actually a ham. We got some great recipes on how to cook a ham at recteqgrills.com, and make sure you subscribe to that YouTube channel. There's a lot of amazing recipes on there. We've also got an amazing Chef Greg brisket trimming video. There's also a backyard pork butt video. So if you just want to go there and watch that, check that out. Those are amazing resources that we have here for you. But I'm just going to do a backyard trim on this. And for me, all I like to do, I really kind of like to leave this fat. Again, fat equals flavor. I always like to live by that motto. So I'll really just kind of trim off the harder fat and leave most of the fat that's kind of already on there. But again, aerodynamics, baby. I still want to work on my aerodynamics of this piece of meat as well. And the tools, again, just like Chef Greg, you got yourself a cutting board. I've got a pan up underneath this cutting board. I'm also going to inject this pork butt. So I'm keeping my workstation nice and clean. I need to move these seasonings I'm going to use later, but I'll do that later. But this is essentially the setup. We've got our nitrile gloves. I've got my injection already ready already. This is the pork booster, Greg, from Butcher?
That's going to be the pit pork, and that's by Butcher's Barbecue. I like the pit pork. I think it's got a little bit more flavor to it. And again, you can cut that with a little apple juice or grape juice if you want.
Yep.
And
We used a little bit of apple cider vinegar today.
For sure.
But again, I'm just looking at the aerodynamics of this beautiful piece of meat. The butcher who had this before me did a pretty good job. But we're going to flip it over because there's always some junk in here that I really don't want to cook. And it's just going to be the little bit of stuff on top.
And the more you cut off of that, that's less you have to scrape away.
Correct.
After the fact too. So if you want, more of a crusty sort of bark, a deeper smoke penetration, get rid of that fat, and that way you got more, seasoning to stick on.
And there's also a little bit of silver skin in there too that you can remove. That'll give you a lot less headache down the road for sure. But don't overthink it, guys. This stuff is easy peasy, lemon squeezy. The more you overthink it, the more you're going to kind of second guess yourself, and that's the last thing you need to do. The grill's going to do all the work for you.
Chef Greg, I have a question for you.
Fire away, buddy.
So if there
see
is
that
no
silver
real
skin right
difference
there,
between
guys?
hot, high, and fast, why wouldn't you just do that all the time? Why do the low and slow?
All right, so there is a difference between the hot and fast and the low and slow in regards to end result. In the case of brisket, when you go hot and fast, that brisket the protein is going to plump up. And then since you're going hot and fast, the protein is going to coagulate or cook and set. So typically your brisket will plump up and hold that shape. Whereas if you go low and slow, it's a softer process. That meat's not going to plump up, especially if they're injected. So when we're talking competition barbecue, going a little bit hotter, that brisket slice is going to pop up a little bit. You tend to get a little bit wider slices. And again, in the box, it looks dynamite. Now for me, I do both. And it depends when we want to eat the brisket. If we're having brisket for lunch or we got people over and I want to be a little lazy about it, maybe I want to just to really not forget, not think about it. I'm going low and slow overnight. Now, if I'm doing brisket for dinner or maybe it's one of those, I don't know what I'm doing for dinner and I go to the grocery store at 10 o'clock in the morning and brisket just looks bomb, I'm going hot and fast. You're still going to get a smoke ring because, again, smoke ring is created with, once that wood is combusted, it's the nitrogen dioxide reacts with the myoglobin in the meat. Now, if your fat is too thick, okay, that smoke is not going to come in contact with the protein, so you're not going to get a smoke ring. Again, a smoke ring isn't flavor. It's just visual. That's all it is. So if you get a big chunk of fat like that, smoke will not go through that, okay?
Very good tip, Chef Greg.
So for all you newbies out there, if maybe you trim a little bit more, if you want more of that visual, there you go. Get a bigger, deeper smoke ring.
Right. But this one, let me show you guys. I isolated that money muscle a little bit for you. This one, it looked like it was a big money muscle, but once you opened it up a little bit, you can find it's really not all that big for us. So that's why the competition guys, they tend to get those bigger butts. That way, the bigger hogs, that way this money muscle right here is a lot bigger. And KCBS, they want you to keep that attached to the pork butt. So that's, of course, why we're trimming it out so we can get it a lot more of that surface area, a lot more smoke penetration. But that essentially, I just like to play with the money muscle, but that is all I do. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Again, if you've got any of that stuff that might just burn at the top, just go ahead and take that off. You know, some of this silver skin that you can kind of see already, if you want to go ahead and remove that, now's a good time. But if you don't feel like it, you know, you really don't have to. You can leave all of that stuff on there and not have to worry about it.
So, Jody, I have a question for you. So
yes, Chef John.
So, unlike the brisket, the fat on the pork butt, you could actually just leave that on there and it will all be fine?
That's right, because you know, that brisket fat or that beef fat is going to be a lot harder and it's not going to render down. A lot of times that butcher is going to take that stuff off of there for you, but sometimes they're not. You know, you're going to have a butcher that's going to leave a lot of that stuff on there before they package it, and you're going to see a hard cap on that pork butt. So you are going to need to take that down and at least leave, you know, leave a quarter of an inch if you want to. But there are times where Chef Greg and myself will take all of that fat off. We'll take all of the little nastiness. We'll go ahead and trim that out, and we'll smoke it. That way, all we have to do is pull it. We're done. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. This stuff, right, Chef Greg, this freezes really well.
For sure.
And it can be used for a lot of different applications. You know, you can make chili with both of these.
Ooh.
You can make some amazing tacos with both of these. It's a big piece of meat. It's hard to over season. You know.
I mean, you can use anything from maybe you're making a nice bolognese sauce, a spaghetti sauce, enchiladas, tacos. You know, and then break it down in smaller amounts. Maybe after it's pulled, break it down into 1 or 2 pound packages, get it frozen. And that way, you know, when you're making some recipes around the house, you got meat for it.
And again, guys, you can see I'm breaking this down a little bit more for you. Again, see the different kind of muscle groups where we're at. Now, we want to let you know that Academy tickets are on sale now. That's right, we're bringing it back. The 2018 Academy class was so awesome, we decided to bring it back ×4 this year. The dates are going to be April 23rd through 25th, June 4th through the 6th, and September 24th through 26th. And the last one, which a lot of people have already signed up for, has been that October date, the 8th through the 10th. So make sure you go to recteqgrills.com and sign up now if you're interested in joining that coveted 2020 Academy class. And see, a lot of people just take this off there too. We're trying to feed some folks, so we're going to leave all of that on there.
We got awesome stuff in store for everybody. I mean, the classes are going to be super intimate, you know, 30 people a class.
Right.
I mean, truly the VIP experience, you know, starting Thursday between, you know, cocktails, hors d'oeuvres, the gathering, going right into it, all day Friday, all day Saturday, wrapping up on Saturday with a VIP retail experience. I'm telling you guys, it's going to be fantastic. We'll have live entertainment on Friday night. It's going to be a blast, and you don't want to miss out.
Bring your friends, bring your family. It's going to be a good time.
Chef Greg, real quick, before you do what you're going to do next, was that a prime or choice brisket?
This is a prime brisket, for sure. This is a prime brisket. And again, I trimmed 2. We're going to do them, show you different steps. Maybe we'll wrap one in paper, maybe we'll wrap one in foil, but you'll have to stay tuned to our stories all day, and we'll get going. But Jody, am I good to inject this bad boy? Or
yeah. I'm ready to inject right after you get done, buddy.
All right, so I've got my injection here, and my injection again is Butcher's Barbecue. I use 1 part prime dust with 3 parts of the prime injection. Again, all that stuff's available at AtlantaBBQStore.com.
Now, Greg, when you say 1 part per 3 parts, can you break that down for somebody like me?
So I'm going to use 1/4 cup of the prime dust, 3/4 cup of the prime injection. Mix that with 2 cups of water. It's no secret. It's literally the instructions on the container. I'm just saying.
Okay, Dan.
All right, so 2 cups of water. I also added a little bit of au jus concentrate. And again, Ray Carnes is famous for his powder. Well, we've got more of a liquid au jus here, and we'll show you some secrets to that a little bit later on. And again, I'm going to inject this brisket. I'm a fan of the spit jack injector for briskets. When you're injecting smaller cuts of meat or you want to be a little bit more precise where you're putting it, I'm a huge fan because I got a dial. I can set how many milliliters or pull the trigger. But to load it, super simple. We'll just go ahead and, again, load that injector. And what I'm going to do is when I go in to inject the flat, I'm going to kind of squeeze and then move the injector needle and have basically 3 pockets with only 1 incision point.
Greg, is there a ratio to kind of go through or go by depending on the size of brisket that you have?
I mean, if you've got a 14-pounder, you can probably get about a, cup and a half of injection in there. Every piece of meat's a little bit different. You can get, typically my competition briskets, I'm putting about 2 cups in there, but I'm also going to trim that flat completely, and I'll have, maybe an 8-pound flat. But I keep my needle kind of horizontal to the protein, and you can watch that bad boy balloon up. Now make sure you put your thumb over that incision hole when you pull that needle out, because you're putting a lot of pressure under there. It's pretty likely to come shooting at you, and you don't want to
poke your eye out.
Oops, see, you got a little hole over here. And again, we're going to kind of pump this kind of in a grid pattern. I don't get too crazy with it, maybe every couple inches, load it up. But
I get crazy with it, y'all.
Now on the, whoop, see, you got to watch that squirter there. Now with the flat, I'll put more juice in. The point doesn't really need as much. And this is going to inject, whoop, see, you got a squirter right there. You're going to get some good flavor and moisture in here.
Good flavor.
Good stuff.
And again, this is recteq lunch break. We're doing this every day at 12 p.m., noon, Eastern Standard, Monday through Friday, everyone. Just trying to give you some a breakup of your day, but also keep some normalcy. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure you smash that share button. Give us a like. Give us a love. We really would appreciate it. It would help brighten somebody's day. I promise you to show them how to trim up a brisket amazingly and cook the most delicious pork butt you've ever seen or tasted in your life.
And if any injection comes out, don't worry. That's going to be our binder. So look at that bad boy just plump
Chef
up.
John, we got any good questions out there?
Yeah, Jody, we have a good question for you. I just had it and I lost it. I'm sorry. Doug Wilkerson was asking,
Doug?
is it better to keep the money muscle attached or to separate it?
For backyard, keep everything attached. Do not do what I did. That is just going too far into it. Now, if you're looking to do a competition, you would go even further than this and isolate those muscles even more. But if you're just doing it for your family, your backyard, trimming it a little bit and injecting it really gives me the feeling that I'm looking for when I'm trying to cook that pork butt. But keep it simple, keep it easy. If you want to do that, you can. That's how you live your recteq lifestyle. But in my line of work, I just like to keep it easy peasy lemon squeezy. We're going to make the most delicious pork butt. I've also trimmed this one up again. You can see I did not trim it up as much as I did the competition pork butt. But you can see this is a pork shoulder that we got at the store, about 9 to 10 pounds. I have got the Chops Power Injector here. It's one of my favorite injectors for whole hog and pork butt. Essentially, it's just like a little pump. Then you have your needles here. It can be found on Amazon, but it's made in Kansas City, so those cats out there know barbecue. But I like to inject over the top. Too much. I'm going to put this whole thing in here. We've got 2 cups of water for 3/4 cups of that pork. What was it called, Greg?
It's a Butcher's Barbecue,
Butcher's Barbecue.
Pit pork injection.
Pork injection. Delicious stuff. Available at AtlantaBBQStore.com. But I've got 2 cups of hot water in there mixed with 3/4 cups of that Butcher's Barbecue. And then I added a cup of apple cider vinegar. I also added about 1/4 cup of honey in there as well. Make sure it's all good and shook up. But you can see, where you kind of want to inject it with this bad boy. Because, of course, you want to hit this money muscle up. But, again, you can see it ballooning. You can see it going.
Ooh, that thing is fancy, Jody.
Right?
And again, those fine folks at Atlanta BBQ Store are part of the recteq family. If you're looking for 10% off your order with them, go ahead and type in down below recteq10. That'll give you 10% off the order, and they ship all throughout the U.S. as well. So,
Man, this thing.
Jody, how do you
sexy.
feel about putting butter in your injection?
Oh, Lord. I like it. But honestly, I don't think it gives much flavor. If I'm doing this, I want to put a briny mixture in there. I don't want to put an oily mixture inside the pork butt. What say you, Chef Greg? What is the culinary expertise in you say about adding oils into your injections?
I will keep the oil and the butter for like poultry and things like that, but I'm not a fan of putting them. I don't want greasy food for competition food or even backyard brisket. I want to pack flavor in there. I want to get salt in there. I want to get some sweetness in there. I want to get some delicious, umami elements. And again, this is really going to just bring this thing full circle. But I've got this thing jacked up. This is that second brisket. And now I'm cooking fat side down. Okay? So what I'm going to do is, I'm done injecting. We're gonna get rid of this. We're gonna start to season these bad boys up. And again, we've got a couple secrets. Again, we're gonna kind of use
It's an Academy sneak peek. We can share them.
Yeah, we're gonna put that injection as our binder, all right? So I got fat cap up on both of these, and we're gonna put that down. So I'm gonna season this side first. Friends at Boar's Night Out, this is white lightning.
Ow!
Literally, this stuff does not suck. It goes on everything. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna add a liberal coat on there. So salt, garlic. Now this does have some MSG, but it's got
Shout out
flavor.
MSG, my
MSG.
favorite flavor.
It is a very fine grind. It is delicious. Now we're gonna do some flavor profile. So we've got some fantastic Texas oil dust, and this is their steak rub. And then one of my favorites, you got that salt in the mouth here, the La Barbacoa Cow Whisperer. We're gonna go on top, and we'll do 1 and 1 just as a comparison.
And just to give you guys a heads up, Chef Greg is using that Spit Jack injector. It can be found on Amazon.com. Myself, I'm using that Chops Power injector. You can see these smaller needles. We also have a set that have much larger needles for our whole hog cooks, but this can be found at barbecuekansascity.com or, of course, Amazon as well.
And we're going super heavy on this. Now I'm gonna let this sit for about 20 minutes, and then I'm gonna flip it over to the other side. I want that seasoning to kind of soak into the meat. And then typically if I'm doing this for a competition or even backyard, I'm doing this about 6 hours ahead of time. It's gonna sit in the fridge. That injection is gonna penetrate. There's some enzymes and phosphates in that injection that start to break down some of the protein, get it good and tender. Now you don't ever rub your meat. Okay, now if you want to just kind of give a little push to help things adhere, go right
Man,
ahead.
that's some good looking briskets,
Now
Greg.
just know, do not push the injection out. Okay. Another tip for you is, you can see I kind of trimmed a little corner here. What I'm going to do is, when I slice it, I'm going to start here, and that way I know my slices are going to come off on that.
And I see a lot of questions out there, guys. We did go over what we injected both the pork butt and the brisket with, so make sure you go back and watch the whole video. That'll help us. That'll help the video reach a lot more people too. But we did go over what went inside that injection. We did go over twice what kind of injectors we were using. So make sure you watch that whole video
And you can
to
see
get
the
the
grain of that meat
answers
running.
to those questions.
That grain in the meat's running like that, so again, your slices are going to start here. So we'll go ahead and flip this over and repeat. So I'm going to put some delicious Boar's Night Out White Lightning all over. I put this on everything. Popcorn.
Chef
Good
Greg, I got a question for you.
Yep.
You said you were going to put those fat side down.
Always, baby.
Why fat side down?
All right, got my little dust cloud of seasoning over here. I do not have Corona, I promise. All right, so fat down. You want your fat, I'm about to sneeze.
Bless you.
You always want to put your fat near the heat source traditionally.
Got to put your fat into the heat source because, again, that's going to protect and render out. Now, we did cut a bunch of that off, and again, this is going to be super good. And we'll let this kind of tack up and soak in. We'll hit it with the Texas oil dust. We'll hit it with the La Barbacoa Cow Whisperer, and then we'll let these sit in the fridge for about an hour or two. And we'll put them on the, we'll do one on the RTB 380 Bullseye, and then we'll
That's
do
right.
the other one on the RT 700. We're going hot and fast. We'll be about 300 degrees, 325 degrees. It's going to be delicious. Jody, what you got, buddy?
So I'm about to inject this other pork butt here. Again, I'm using that Chops Power Injector. Chef Greg was using that Spit Jack, both available at Amazon.com. It's got these nice little needles here. They give you a much smaller hole. But we're just going to plump this bad boy up as much as we can. Again, probably about a cup. Oh, squirter. Probably about a cup and a half of injection is going to go into this 9 to 10 pound pork butt. And you can smell that butcher's. Man, that's injection just smells absolutely amazing. And again, this is not for competition, but I'm just going to load this money muscle up. Oh, you're poking a bunch of holes in it. I don't care. This is for me and my folks, man. I ain't trying to impress no KCBS or IBCA judge. But there it goes. I put most of my injection inside that money muscle. You can see a lot of it on the cutting board there. It's going to give us, going to make a good binder for us.
That's drippy.
Right, drippy, baby. But I like to go a couple of levels, just like Chef Greg. First level, oh yeah, pass me that white lightning, son. Pass me that white lightning, son. Go get you some of this, guys. This stuff is absolutely amazing. We'll be showing you later in the year when we get some comps what's going to happen with that. But I like to add a little bit of heat. There's also a little bit of heat inside of that injection. Sorry, Matt Acosta. I'm not making it very easy for you with our distancing. But season high, guys. That way you don't get a big clump in one area. But my first layer, it's going to be a light layer of that Ron Screaming Pig rub. That's going to give me the heat, the back end heat, because it's going to be the last seasoning that I put on. So in my mind, that's going to be the last thing you taste, because it's going to be the first thing I put on. It's going to be the last thing you taste, because you got to get through those first couple of levels in order to get to that Ron Screaming Pig rub. That works in your head too, right, John?
Yeah, that sounds perfect. I was just going to ask you to describe what it's all about, the layering of flavors here. But you nailed it. You nailed
this
it.
Casanova's competition rub is a lot finer. It's going to give me some great color. I'm talking great color. I'm also going to make up a little binder later. Not a binder, a little glaze later, and I'll be glazing these bad boys up because I want them to look amazing for the internet. It's all about taking pictures of food and putting them on the internet nowadays. I'm trying to be the coolest at it. Oh, wait a second. That's Ron's again. I don't want to do that. Last level. Again, first level, Ron Screaming Pig. Second level, Casanova's competition rub. Third level is going to be this delicious Boar's Night White Lightning Boar's Night Out. And again, all this seasoning, a lot of it's going to fall off, but it's also going to help create an amazing bark. But again, you can see right here, Matt, you don't want to push that injection out, okay?
And one really important thing people need to remember too, Jody, is if you want a spicier rub, okay, like Ron's Screaming Pig rub, the longer you cook that on a muscle, the essential oils are going to kind of cook out of it. You're going to lose some of that spiciness the longer it's cooked. So if you want to kind of jack that back up and get it spicy again, when you're pulling your pork or slicing your brisket, it's completely fine to go ahead and add a topping layer of seasoning, if you will, of that spicier rub to kind of bring that spice back and give you a little kind of burn in the back of the throat if you want that spicy food.
And I always, if you have some folks that like it spicy and you're going to pull it anyway, you can add that spicier seasoning after you pull it, and that way you're not getting too much. You can never go back if you put too much in there, you know what I'm saying? That way along the way you can kind of build up that spiciness.
And layering rubs is a great way to kind of stack flavors and build flavors. Also consider rubs with different textures. Some rubs are really fine, like that Boar's Night Out White Lightning. And some rubs are a little bit coarser, like that Rossaruski's Honey Rib Rub, Heifer Dust, the Screaming Pig. They're a little bit of a coarser rub. The La Barbacoa Cow Whisperer that we used on our second brisket, again, that's a really chunky rub. So that's going to give you some really good texture on your bark and some really good color. And if you want your food to be a little bit darker, consider using additional binders like molasses is a fantastic binder on pork butt, especially if you want to get a really thick bark. Additional flavors that have a lot of sugars in them. Again, that's a great way to get some additional color and or bark on top of your food. And if that's not something that you like, if you don't want to have, a real crusty bark, you can do things like simple salt, pepper, garlic, onion powder. It'd be really simple, good, clean flavors. You won't be disappointed. Because again,
and wrapping, if you're not careful, can loosen up that bark and kind of get rid of it. So you also want to be careful, when you're wrapping too. if you choose to do the Texas crutch, again, a lot of folks will wrap their brisket and or pork butt, after it has reached the beautiful color that they're looking for.
So you talk about this wrap. I mean, what are you really talking about when you're talking about wrap? What's that doing for the pork or the brisket?
Right, exactly. So you're essentially not allowing, and when the pork butt or the brisket get to about 160, 170, that's about all the amount of smoke that they're going to be able to take and absorb. So essentially you're kind of speeding up that process of cooking. After you achieve that beautiful color and beautiful bark you want, you wrap it, you make sure it's good and tight. You don't want to have any bubbles in there because that's going to steam that little area, and you do not want that. That's going to annihilate your bark. That's going to moisten it up and have it ooze off like pudding. That is not what you want. So you want to make sure that you wrap it tightly. Chef Greg likes a couple layers. I like a couple layers of aluminum foil as well. You can also use butcher paper if you want to. Butcher paper is just a little bit more messier for me. I like the aluminum foil because it helps contain all of that juice, and I can save that juice for later if I wanted to make like an au jus or inject it. And what is it called, Chef Greg, when you keep on taking out that liquid from a pork butt and just keep adding it to other liquid?
Oh, so basically you're making a gloss, and like you use like demi-gloss, like a gloss de veau, like a beef, a veal stock. Again, you're going to keep layering that flavor in there, but definitely get you a fat separator because you don't want to add grease back to the food. We want to add flavor. So if you've got a delicious, pork jus coming out of it, go ahead and run it through a grease separator, and that way you're not adding fat to it, just delicious flavor. Man. And again, we talked about wrapping. I'm a foil guy. Again, if you want a little bit crustier of a bark, you can use butcher paper. Now, here's my recteq disclaimer. When you're cooking something, whether it's a pork butt or a brisket, and typically people go at 225, which is awesome, fantastic. You don't need to cook this for 22 hours. You don't need to cook a pork butt for 22 hours. What you want to do is pay attention to internal temp. I always wrap, and here's why. One, I want moisture. Two, I want to really push through that stall. That stall this is a big piece of meat. And at some point through the cooking process, the meat is going to evaporate its moisture as quickly as it's being cooked. So that's why if you're following that cook on the recteq Rolls app and you've got your probes in there, you might notice it hangs out about 165, 166 for maybe an hour or two. Well, that can also happen towards the end of the cook. So maybe your brisket's kind of stuck at like 199 or 200. Again, if it's a smaller piece of meat, it doesn't have the thermal mass to push through that end stage to get tender. Same thing with pork butt. So what happens if you're, especially towards the end, it's just drying out, okay? That's literally what's happening. Your food is just drying out. It's that simple.
But Chef Greg has not seasoned the bottom of this brisket yet, guys. There are folks flipping out, Greg. He's not going to season the bottom of the meat?
Well,
no.
I did when you were talking.
Right.
So this is that cap side, and this is going to go on the grate itself of the grill, and this is going to be the top, the flat. Now, if you look, there's a nice arc and dome to that brisket on both of them. I don't want any pockets or puddles because as the stuff kind of renders, I don't want to have
whirlwinds
soft
of smoke.
spots. So again, this is nicely trimmed, good aerodynamicness to it. And these are ready for the grill. And again, we'll get these on. One I'll put on the RTB 380 Bullseye. The other one we'll put on the RT 700. And we're going to run 300 degrees.
And we got a good question out there. Some folks are asking, is there any issue with putting in a pan and then wrapping the pan with aluminum foil? So that, again, cooking it in the pan is going to kind of restrict a little bit of that airflow. So think about that, too, because you're not allowing that full smoke penetration. You're not giving it the most amount of surface area touching that smoke. So you're not going to get the same amount of smoke out of that pan. You're also going to kind of steam the meat once you wrap it, correct, Chef Greg?
For sure. Now, if you want to put it in a pan, you can put it on a baking rack to elevate it above the pan.
Correct.
That will not obstruct any airflow. A lot of competition guys do that to keep their pits good and clean, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you put it in a pan, and it's just like putting it in a crock pot. Instead of smoking it, you're going to be simmering it in the juice, and that's not good eats.
Right.
Y'all, that meat looks delicious.
These 2 10-pound pork butts are going to easily fit in any grill that we have out here in our arsenal. So Greg is going to set up that RTB 380 to cook that brisket to perfection. We're just going to slide that bad boy on there. You're
Just like
doing
that.
300 degrees, Chef?
300.
But that is the RTB380 beta version. The new version will be available soon. Make sure you sign up for that newsletter at recteqgrills.com. Scroll all the way down to the bottom of that homepage. Put your email where it says sign up for the newsletter. I'm going to put both of these pork butts in the RT590. Again, we could probably fit 2 more of those bad boys. You can easily fit 40 pounds of pork in the RT590. We're using that Ultimate Blend pellet. Again, these are pellet grills. They run off of pellets, so you can choose any flavor of wood that you like. We like the Ultimate Blend. It's a mixture of red oak, white oak, and hickory blended perfectly together. Some folks like hickory. Some folks like char pellets. Some folks like fruit woods. You can live your recteq lifestyle because our grills run off of any brand of pellet, any flavor of pellet. Now, Chef Greg's going to put that other brisket on the RT700. You could easily fit 4 of those bad boys on there. They'd be touching, but you could easily fit them on there. That looks absolutely amazing. Again, this is recteq Lunch Break, where we try to bring you some normalcy while also brightening your day in the times ahead. We're doing this every day, Monday through Friday, at noon Eastern, right here live on the recteq Grills Facebook page. We thank you guys so much for hanging out and joining us today. Smash that share button for me. Give me a like. Give us a love. Chef
Jody,
John?
talking about brightening people's day, they want to get a little deck update. Maybe we can like give them a little
Oh,
pan around the deck. A little
deck
recteq
update.
deck.
All right, so you can't go far, Matt. So you'll probably just hang out right here. But we got the boys. They've already finished my right, your left side of the recteq deck. And then we've got the other side. Hey, boys, say hello. We got the crew. They're working hard over there. Matt's scrolling so slow. But Canute, what kind of wood is this? Man, this is pressure treated. Canute, what kind of wood is it? Is it oak? Is it pine? Oh man, it's a finished pine. It's the finest wood that you can get. It's going to look absolutely amazing. Matt, you're probably losing service, so we're going to scoot back on over here.
And they make sure you got to follow along with us as we do this cook. Make sure you follow our stories.
Absolutely,
on Instagram.
today.
Follow our stories on Facebook, because if you want to see what this cook is doing, we'll give you some behind the scenes. Maybe every hour, if we're going to wrap, we'll show you what the meat looks like. And then we get to eat it tonight after hour, 7 o'clock Eastern on Facebook. It's going to be delicious.
And I'm going to be making a glaze a little bit later on. We're going to show you Ray's famous Ray's take on the Myron Mixon glaze. And we got sent some blueberry jam, so I'm probably going to use that blueberry jam to make that glaze for these delicious pork butts. But we're cooking these at 375, cooking them just a little bit higher, or was that a mistake, Chef Greg?
350 on the pork butts usually, and again, I'll go about 3 hours, wrap it up tight, and then go about another 2 hours, and then they're usually perfect. Speaking of Ray's glaze, I almost think we need to make some Ray's brandy sauce for some Dunkin', because that was delicious. If you guys want some fantastic content, if you guys want to know how to make a sauce, you can put on a shoe, and it's amazing. Jump over to YouTube, check out the venison backstrap with Ray's brandy sauce. I'm telling you, people.
They just put it up the other day. It's an absolutely amazing video. I've talked and touted this sauce for years. There's nothing. And we've ate it at some pretty nice restaurants the past couple years, but there ain't nothing that has even come close to that Ray's brandy sauce, son. It ain't no joke. This ain't no game. Everybody else is playing for seconds. Hello, Ray Carnes. Hopefully you're out there. What's up, Chef John? You got a good question for us?
Yeah, Rob Jensen wants to know your thoughts on water pans inside the grill.
Oh, man, me personally, I think they're absolutely unnecessary. Those pellets that are burned on the inside of your chamber contain 10% moisture. That moisture is released on the inside of the chamber.
If your cooker needs a water pan, your cooker is not doing work for you. It's trying to compensate for things. It's trying to compensate that it can't hold
temperature.
These are PID controlled grills. It does not deviate. You set it at 300, it's going to run at 300. You don't need to worry about it. They don't need good airflow. You don't need to obstruct any of that with a water pan. All you're really doing is occupying real estate for more
That you could be
brisket,
cooking more
for
stuff
more
with.
pulled pork, for maybe some jerky, some smoked fish, all sorts of stuff.
Why
You
limit?
got it fired up, fill it up, people.
Why limit your possibilities? Expand your horizons. That's what I'm talking about. Greg, you got to get any uplifting stories for
All right,
us?
so I'm not gonna lie, the last time I cooked a brisket, that kind of won us some money. So that last cook we did was at Hog and on Lanier. It's been a while since I cooked some brisket.
Been a hot minute.
Isabel, we went to Gainesville, Georgia. We took the Mamba out there. My buddy Joe Costa came out with us. Ben Losky, our videographer, came out to record that. And one of the guys I met out there, Brent, who's one of our IT guys, now he works with us. But we were out there, we made a bangin' brisket. We actually won first place. We beat Myron Mixon. It was actually pretty funny about that. The night before with Bubba Grill's Lonnie Smith, we actually gave a brisket class that night. He took second place. So I think we were onto something there. So I'm kind of excited to have a brisket again. It's been far too long since we cooked off a brisket, I'm not going to lie.
It's been a hot minute, and we plan to do this actually in May. I'm so glad that we changed our minds and decided to do it for recteq lunch break, because this is the perfect audience for it. You folks out there, we know you want to learn. If you have any questions, make sure you put them in the comments section. We want to make sure that we answer those for you. What I did was I actually used the platinum tip meat probes that come standard with the recteq lifestyle series, and I placed it on the inside thickest part of the meat, and I'm going to use that recteq controller to monitor my temperature. I've actually got it hooked up to my phone. It's actually hooked up to the recteq Grills app, and that app is available at the Apple app or Google Play stores. Make sure you check that out. But I could turn the grill up, down, on or off from anywhere in the world as long as my grill stays hooked up to the Wi-Fi, and as long as my phone has cell service, we are good to go. It hooks up super easy. The app is super easy to use, and it's an absolute necessity for us. Busy family, you know, we like to go play golf, we like to hang out at the lake, we like to go to Pop's house, so we're able to put something on the grill, monitor it from our phone while we're hanging out. And then when we get back to the house, you know, it's usually going to be ready by the time we get back. But if it finishes early, we could turn it down.
You can turn the grill off. I mean, again, it gives you time back in the day, especially at night. Dinner time's busy enough as it is. You can preheat your grill as you're driving home from work. Maybe you know, soccer practice went longer and you can, you know, keep the grill hot, keep the food warm. Or maybe you just shut it off because maybe they're having too much fun out there, and you know.
It's time to call an audible, man.
But again, these briskets and pork butt are going to roll for about 2.5 hours before we do anything. But we'll give you some sneak peeks. We'll take some pictures. We'll throw it up on the Instagram. We'll throw it up on Facebook.
Now, can we also do these cooks on the inside of our oven, Chef Greg, if we didn't have this awesome recteq grill?
You could. I would definitely probably go hot and fast at that point. You're making more like roast beef and roast pork because you're not getting a lot of smoke flavor in there. But maybe you don't have a recteq grill and it's something that you're looking into. Again, you can cook in the oven, but I'm telling you, once you cook on a recteq, your oven is going to like cease to operate. All right. So we moved about 2 years ago. The oven, it does not work. We don't even use it. Everything gets cooked on the grill. Somebody was asking yesterday, can you cook burgers on the 700? You can cook everything from briskets to biscuits, cakes, pies, cookies, all of your favorite treats, cheesecakes, creme brulees, flans, everything. Think of this as a wood-fired oven. Maybe you want to make some pizzas. Boom, the recteq has you covered.
Hot sandwiches.
It doesn't matter if you're cooking on the RT2500 BFG or you're taking the recteq lifestyle on the road with the RT340. You can cook everything on these grills. Ultimately, it's up to you to expand your horizons and see how that grill fits your lifestyle.
Patty melts. We cooked patty melts the other day. You can put cast iron in this thing. You can put your pans in it. Baked muffins. Peanut butter cookies taste absolutely amazing, kissed by smoke. They're not in there a long time. They're not getting a lot of that smoke flavor, and the smoke flavor is not overpowering by any means. It does a really good job of just flavoring your foods and not overpowering them. Again, this is a competition smoker. We made this for competition cooks to win competitions. That judge out there does not want to taste an ashtray. He does not want to taste a bunch of smoke. He wants to taste a hint of smoke with the flavor profiles that you put on your meat. Right, Chef Greg?
And Jody, we had a great question too. People are saying, if you're going hot and fast, are you smoking? Absolutely. We are burning wood the entire time. And again, that smoke ring we talked about earlier, it's a reaction with that nitrogen dioxide reacting with the myoglobin in the meat. You're going to get a smoke ring. It's going to be delicious. Tune in tonight, after hours, you will see that smoke ring. It's delicious. I really wish we could share it with you guys, but we're kind of, you know.
Follow us on social media.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
But go on inside, Greg. We'll wrap this bad boy up.
Come on.
So, Greg, real quick, they wanted to know: does the Bullseye actually have flames, or is it just a heating grill?
All right, come on. I'll show you. Come on. Let's go back
Yeah.
out. 6 feet. 6 feet. Go
6
outside,
feet,
Jody.
6 feet.
All right. So come in here close. All right. So we're burning 300 degrees. I got my pellets in the hopper right here. We're burning the ultimate blend. If you look right in here, okay, you can see underneath that drip pan, there's holes all around. That flame is hitting the middle of that flame deflector. It's coming up the sides. It's an open fire pit. So again, it's gonna cook your food a little bit faster, and you're gonna have great results with that. Now this thing will also get riot mode, people, riot mode. You're talking over 600 degrees.
It's hot,
Burgers,
son.
steaks, chops, delicious. But it's also PID controlled. You can turn it down. You can run this bad boy 225. You can put it on low. If you need one grill to do it all, this can definitely do it. But if you've got a bigger family, the RT700 is perfect. You can fit 6 pork butts, 2 briskets, all the turkeys. But I'm telling you, the RTP380 Bullseye is an excellent complement grill to our other lifestyle grills. Also, if you cook on gas or charcoal currently, this is probably more familiar to you. It's a little bit of a drier heat, a little bit of a more aggressive cooker, but this thing right here is fire. I'm just telling you.
Teresa
Good
said
stuff.
her oven died. She's not worried about it. She's got a recteq grill. A lot of other folks out there say that they cook muffins and cookies and cakes, and cornbread is probably my favorite thing to kind of cook in there. We also got a great recipe on YouTube for that Irish soda bread that doesn't have any yeast in it or anything, so it's super, super simple, super easy. Again, the grill does all the work for us, guys. We really, really hope that you enjoyed this episode of recteq Lunch Break. We just wanted to give you guys some step-by-step instructions. We also wanted to tell you about recteq Academy. It's going to be 3 full days of barbecue instruction. It includes drinks, meet and greets, food, meals. There's like a $300 swag bag. These awesome recteq Academy aprons are only going to be available for purchase for folks that purchased a recteq Academy ticket. You will receive a diploma. You're going to be taught by the best of the best. Now, you're not just going to learn competition barbecue stuff. Chef Greg's going to go into it. He's going to teach you knife sharpening skills. He's going to teach you backyard recipes. We're going to make you cook for yourself. It's going to be an absolutely amazing time. Guys, thank you so much. We hope you have a great rest of the day. Keep your chins up. Keep your heads up. We'll see you tonight for after hours. recteq Chef Greg, you got anything?
Make sure you follow us on all social media. We will keep you updated as this cook goes along, and I can't wait to see you guys live tonight on Facebook at 7 o'clock. It's going to be ridiculous as we slice up these briskets. We pull these pork butts. It's going to be fire, people.
I'm going to pull them. I'm going to slice them crazy. John, we got any questions by the family out there?
Everybody just said they're going to see us tonight, and they're
Smash
loving
that
it.
share button, family. Family. Have a great day.
And we will see you
At the recteq.
Do, do, do. Do, do, do. Do, do, do.
Bruce says thanks from UAE.
Lifestyle.
Lowell,
Set it
he loves
and
lunch
forget
breaks.
it till the sun
Thanks,
starts
Kyle.
going
We love you,
down.
brother.
Live your
Who else is
life
out there?
the way
Doug
you
Wilkerson.
like. It's a
Thomas.
recteq
Bill Foster
lifestyle.
says, woo.
Do,
Tina
do,
Fisher.
do.
John
Do,
Russworm.
do, do.
Dale Greenfelder.
Do,
Deb
do,
Storm.
do.
Bill. Bill Lane.
Recteq lifestyle.
Larry